Well, finally, we get a Super Bowl game that's worthy of its commercials. And some of those commercials put a few people in doubt, and the three of us are three of them. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle. This is your right angle concerning a particular ad that came out during the Super Bowl session. It's by a company called 84 Lumber. It's probably the most controversial of the ads that ran during the Super Bowl. And in this commercial, we see a migrant mother and her young daughter walking across the desert to come to America, only to be confronted by this gigantic, huge wall. The little daughter pulls out a tattered American flag. It looks like their dream of freedom is smashed by Cheeto Hitler's gigantic concrete barrier. But fortunately, just around the corner is a gate made out of wood. A big wooden gate in the cement wall, and I'm going to bet you dimes to dollars that that wooden wall was made out of 84 lumber. Now, the problem with all this is that this sets up a very, very compelling, very believable, and extremely false vision of what actually happens on our border. So, Scotty, let's start with you. My belief is that most of the people who come into this country illegally through Mexico are not mothers and daughters who come in by themselves, holding hands, just walking in, seeking a better life with their tattered American flag and dreaming of freedom.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that, Bill. And I also think that if you got to see the whole commercial, like I didn't see it during the game, I had to go back and watch it online. It seemed like it was 28 minutes long. It was the longest, most painful thing. I was like, I wanted the commercial to stop for commercials because it was just so boring. But they did, they started off basically hopping into the bed of this truck with this kindly man, helped them up into the bed of the truck. And then they're wandering through the desert, seemingly through trackless wastelands. They wade through a stream. They're in a ravine that looks like, the skinny end of the Grand Canyon or something.
So they shot it in real time, in other words.
That's right. And then they get up to, yes, it's like an episode of 24. Events happen in real time. And then they get up to the wall. And of course, there's this giant impregnable wall, which I don't even think we have a wall like that. Maybe we do, but it just doesn't look like the sections of wall that I've seen. And anyway, but what struck me about it was how over the top maudlin it was. Like they could have done this tastefully and made their point. And they could have been more subtle about it so it wasn't, slapping you in the face and basically saying, hey, if you support the president's immigration order, then you want to see this little girl die in the desert. And that was like the impression that they were giving. And frankly, 84 Lumber has a business that is heavily reliant upon immigrant labor. I mean, I don't know what it's like in your neighborhood, but anytime anybody's getting a roof put on here in Texas, it's being done by folks from south of the border. A lot of construction projects that way too. So I could understand them wanting to reach out in a friendly way to that consumer base or actually employee base for many of their subcontractors. But nevertheless, it was, I think that the left is continuing to do what it always does, which is to overplay its hand.
Yeah, that's the truth. Steve, the actual situation on the border crossing is one of, it's not just hardship in the desert, it's absolute misery. It's absolute misery for individual people. So this video is a kind of a lie, but it's a lie that was seen by tens of millions of Americans. Tens of millions of Americans will form their opinion of what happens on the southern border from this one commercial for 84 Lumber.
Hey, Scott, before I answer Bill's question, let me ask you one of my own, just a quick one. Did you watch the full 6-minute version of the ad or the 90-second edit?
I watched the 90-minute version of the ad, so I must it must have been 6 minutes, but it seemed like eternity.
All right. Well, there are really two different ads here. The Fox rejected the 6-minute ad as being too political, if what I read is correct, and forced 84 Lumber to cut it down to a 90-second spot, which is still long, but much more traditional. In this case, I think much more effective. The ad I saw was the same one that ran during the Super Bowl, and I thought it was a very effective piece of propaganda. And it
That's
points,
the word.
Yeah, and it points to why conservatives tend to lose even after we win elections.
Yeah.
And it's this. We don't control the narrative. We don't set the story until we are able to match the production values, the humanity, even if it's lies, the storytelling skills that we saw in that 90-second spot, then we're going to keep losing. Right now, in fact, the Democrats are doing a great job of doing two things. They're stalling motion in the Senate by drawing out Trump's cabinet nominations, and so the Senate can't get any other business done. Meanwhile, over on the House side, they're starting to crack on Obamacare repeal. And the reason is the House Democrats and their allies in the mainstream media are doing a great job of establishing this false narrative that 30 million people are going to suddenly lose their insurance, that the debt will be stacked like cordwood in front of nearly empty hospitals while evil doctors and nurses laugh inside. We'll kill them all. And this is this
Throw
is
another
the narrative.
amputated foot on the fire.
This is the narrative.
And bring me my cognac.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the narrative they're establishing, and we're watching the House go wobbly on repealing Obamacare when all they had to do was put up the same legislation that they passed with pretty much the exact same membership 2 years ago. That's all they had to do. Say, put an expiration date on this thing out for a year. We'll take care of the rest later, because they've lost control of the narrative. They never established it. And President Trump, who controls the world's greatest bully pulpit to establish a narrative, is wasting his time on Twitter and whatnot with these stupid arguments when he should be helping to set up this narrative. And as a result, we may very well lose on the single most important issue that got the Republican Congress elected, and one of the most important issues that got Trump elected. And you're seeing why in 90 seconds of pure propaganda from a lumber company.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't see the ad live in real time. I saw it as a collection of 6 of the most questionable ads against conservative values, and I saw it the next day. So that means that I knew what was coming, and I knew it was going to be something that was going to be a little objectionable to our point of view and our values. I watched the ad, and when that little girl pulled out her American flag and looked up at her mom, I felt almost teared up. It's like, this is not what this country's about. But then I realized that this is not what immigration is about either. The true story of immigration would mean that this woman would be a member of a party of anywhere from 20 to 50, surrounded by 5 or 10 Mexican coyotes, ruthless, bloodthirsty killers with AK-47s, trudging them across the desert or packing them into vehicles where they leave them to dehydrate and starve or die of thirst or whatever the case may be. We'd be seeing the story of things called rape trees, where spots where some of these beautiful young women are raped by the coyotes and their underwear is left on the tree just as a marker for the rest of these savages. We'd see these guys armed to the teeth entering America as an invasion force, with people like this mother being forced to carry in a few kilos of cocaine or heroin or whatever the mule is carrying in order to get into the country. This kind of thing, as Steve nailed it exactly, this kind of propaganda it's not just kind of powerful, it's the whole game.
Yeah.
As I said, tens of millions of people, and many, many millions of people abroad, saw this commercial and thought that this is what was going on at the southern border. I watched it and said, it's nothing like that, but it still had the power to move me. Until we get into this game of the culture, our political wins are going to be odd and one-offs and confused, and our victories will be a little softened too. There is a huge hole in the liberal narrative, and it takes somebody to jump in there and fill it. Somebody who knows how to tell a story professionally, and somebody who can report the truth as we see it, not just as it's seen from ad agencies in Madison Avenue in New York City. Our members here at Bill Whittle make some of that possible. We try to fill that gap in stories as much as we can. If you'd like to become a member, we sure you could use the help. If you want to go to BillWhittle.com, become a member. It's 33 cents a day for amazing programming like this, and some peace of mind and some perspective as well. So until next time, I'm Bill Whittle. Thanks for joining us.